My name's Mark Melton from Dallas. I'm a lawyer and the founder of the Dallas Eviction Advocacy Center. I support Progress Texas with a monthly gift because it's important that we get on the ground real-time information from people we trust. I do hope you'll join me in supporting Progress Texas too.
It's Monday, March 2nd, 2026, and this is the Progress Texas Daily Dispatch rapid response on the breaking news stories Texas progressives need to know. I'm Chris Mosier. Here at Progress Texas, we built a statewide audience and reach millions of Texans monthly, and that's thanks to folks like you who invest in independent progressive media by Texans for Texans. Our thanks to John Cotter, Natalie King, and Sherry Grusendorf for their ongoing sustaining support. We start this Monday emerging from a weekend in which we woke up Saturday morning to a new war in the Middle East and Sunday morning to a mass shooting in the Texas Capitol here in Austin, possibly linked to that new Middle Eastern war. As a quick aside on that shooting, outside Buford's Bar in downtown Austin in the wee hours of Sunday, indications are that the shooter, who the Texas Tribune says was an immigrant from Senegal who became a naturalized citizen in 2013, may have been motivated to commit that horrific crime by this new military action against Iran. Of course, the right wing and the Trump administration are wasting no time leveraging the situation into a fresh condemnation of all immigrants, especially those of Muslim faith. And I'm going to hold off saying much for the moment because the facts about the shooter's actual motives remain unclear. But I will make two related observations. One, that the response from Austin's police and paramedics was very impressive, measured in seconds. And it's fair to say that without that response, this could have been a much worse situation. On the other hand, considering that this man managed to wound 16 people, 2 of them fatally, in under 2 minutes, says a lot about the lethality of the weapons that Republican policies have made as common as cars in our state. There is no practical excuse for this man to have been able to acquire a gun that could do that much damage that quickly. And in 2026 in Texas, these guns are everywhere. Back to Iran and a few of the reactions to the attack from Democratic elected leadership in Texas. Dallas Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, quote, "Congress, not the president, but Congress, has the exclusive authority to declare war. Speaker Johnson needs to call us in immediately, and it is time for the House and the Senate to pass a war powers resolution. This is how you prove your love and respect for the Constitution. This is how you show your constituents that you are truly patriots. It is time for us collectively to stand up to this president," unquote. Austin Congressman Lloyd Doggett, quote, "Trump has declared war on Iran without exhausting nonviolent alternatives, without a long-term plan, and without any legal authorization, wasting billions in a destabilizing bloody conflict. Even though directed at a despicable regime, he imperils the lives of Americans and innocent civilians throughout the region. Choosing war is not peace through strength. It only distracts from his many failures here at home. Every member of Congress can vote this week to restrain Trump by adopting a bipartisan war powers resolution," unquote. Dallas Congresswoman Julie Johnson, quote, "We have seen time and time again how Trump prefers illegal military action with little concern for what comes next. Congress has the sole constitutional authority to declare war, and we must reassert that authority at this moment. I am deeply concerned for the safety of our troops across the region who have been put in harm's way and innocent Iranian citizens who have been yearning for freedom from this oppressive regime. Congress needs to see a clear strategy or the American people will bear the consequences of another endless war in the Middle East," unquote. That's a lot of tough talk, and in fact, it would appear that the Congress will make some kind of attempt to reclaim their constitutional war powers, long eroded by the executive branch over time, this week. But let's face it, the odds of anything with teeth emerging appear long at this point. Luke Garrett at NPR writes that the Congress is preparing to vote on bipartisan resolutions aimed at limiting Donald Trump's military operations in Iran based on the longtime argument that the Constitution requires a congressional vote before entering a war, and that's true. But the partisan balance in the Congress complicates matters here. Anything that passes will require a 2/3 majority in both chambers to override an expected presidential veto, a threshold that won't be easy to reach given the current divide. Congressional Democrats generally support putting the brakes on executive warmongering authority, though a few remain hesitant even under Trump, and of course, most Republicans will blindly follow Trump into yet another overseas misadventure. In short, as things stand, Congress is not an effective check on an unhinged Donald Trump to send American sons and daughters into harm's way. Yet another demonstration of the consequences of elections, with a big one right on the horizon here on this eve of Election Day in the Texas primary. Let's consider the cost of all this, too. The veterans organization Vote Vets notes that, quote, Gulf presence costs $13 million a day, and a new strike on Iran could top $2.25 billion. The Trump administration considers an expensive war of choice, while everyday Americans suffer under the Trump economy at home. Priorities are completely backwards, unquote, and agreed. Some quick math estimates that $2.25 billion could cover SNAP benefits for 22.5 million Americans, provide supportive housing for 150,000 Americans experiencing homelessness, or bolster Medicare and Medicaid benefits for hundreds of thousands of American families. Instead, this money is being used without congressional authorization for a war of adventure that's as likely as not to spiral out of American control. And guess what? We're still talking about the Epstein files, especially the latest word that a lot of those files remain curiously under the cover of secrecy, and those files happen to be a bunch that feature the name of one Donald J. Trump. So the election. I was hearing stories yesterday of hours-long waits to vote and election workers on duty into the wee hours on the last day of primary early voting on Friday. There can be no doubt the Texans have been chomping at the bit to flex that muscle, and we've done exactly that in droves. Snapshots from the final early vote count going into Election Day tomorrow. On the Democratic side, just over 1.5 million ballots cast. That's well over double the total primary turnout for the Dems in 2022. Pollster Adam Carlson shows massive spikes, in particular in the DFW and Houston suburbs, the I-35 corridor suburbs, Tarrant County and Bexar County, and those are the hot spots. Most everywhere with a significant population in Texas is up for the Dems. On polling, and also citing Adam Carlson here, some breakouts from a bunch of recent polls outline how the U.S. Senate battle between Jasmine Crockett and James Tallarico has fallen demographically. Adam crunched up a bunch of those polls and finds that Crockett is leading among black Texans, women, longtime Democrats, older voters, and those without a four-year degree, while James Tallarico is strong with white and Latino Texans, men, independent voters, younger voters, and those with a college degree. The freshest of those individual polls, which as we know have been all over the place, is from Emerson College. This one shows Tallarico out front of Crockett 52 to 47%, but also notably showing an edge for Crockett among voters who have not voted yet and plan to do so tomorrow on Election Day. This Emerson poll is also showing neither John Cornyn nor Ken Paxton above 40%, with Wesley Hunt at 17%. A Republican runoff in the Senate race appears all but certain at this point. By the way, a great many of you probably don't know that today is Texas Independence Day, marking the 190th anniversary of the signing of Texas's Declaration of Independence from Mexico on March 2nd, 1836, which established the Republic of Texas as a sovereign nation and came during the Siege of the Alamo, which would fall a few days later on March the 6th. The Texas Revolution ended shortly after with a decisive victory at the Battle of San Jacinto, which notably included the capture of the president of one of the warring countries, which is rare, Mexican President Santa Anna in this case. It's quite a story. Both the sanitized and whitewashed version, a great many of us learned in 7th grade, and the more modern and scholarly take that includes the fact that one of the primary motivations for the Texians to break away was the outlawing of slavery by the Mexican government. Watch this feed later today for a talk with Texas Politico and writer Jason Stanford, who was one of the collaborators on my personal favorite book about all this, Forget the Alamo, which came out in 2021. Once again, Election Day in the Texas primary is tomorrow, March 3rd. Runoffs are likely beyond that. See the show notes for a ballot form from the Texas Tribune that works with your home address to show who's running in the primary in which you choose to vote. Everything you need to know about voting in Texas can be found at govotetexas.org. Progress Texas could use your help in expanding our top-rated podcast network to include Spanish-speaking media to increase the reach of our progressive messages daily across Texas. Click the link in the show notes to make your donation towards Spanish media today. That's the Progress Texas Daily Dispatch for this Monday, March 2nd, 2026. Links to all these original stories can be found in our show notes. Our mission at Progress Texas is to improve and save Texans' lives by acting on our shared bold progressive values, and that starts with countering the billionaire and corporate-funded conservative disinformation machine. Progress Texas is an independent, nonprofit, rapid response media organization. While campaigns come and go, we're the permanent home for progressive media and action in the Lone Star State. I'm Chris Mosier. Thanks so much for listening. Have a great Monday and a great week. Don't forget to vote tomorrow if you haven't yet, and we'll see you again on Tuesday morning.